Strabismus.
It is 9:30 on a Thursday night, and you are tuned into Beltway Radio and Beyond, which can mean one and only thing. This is Chip Chat. Welcome to Chip Chat, everybody. I'm Chip. Who are you, Tez?
You just told him, buddy.
Look at that. We got it right.
We did it.
This is a very momentous special edition of Chip Chat.
Bigger than last week's anniversary show.
You know, every week is a big week.
I'm ready for not a big week.
Yeah, me too. I would love to come on here.
Coming back.
It would just be great to be like, you know what? We don't have anything to talk about. It's nothing happened. But that's not what we have. This is a special State of the Union edition of this show. And also, Hillary was in town. And Bill Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah. They came to hang out, but then I told them I was busy. So they went to Congress instead, I guess.
No.
Apparently it was very repetitive.
Very repetitive. Oh, well, of course.
Yeah.
You know where they went out to eat afterwards?
Where did they go to eat?
They went and got pizza from Comet Ping Pong.
Oh, of course. In the basement.
Sorry. I shouldn't do it. Sorry. That's
somebody's gonna clip that.
I know that's like, gonna get. I should not have said that. I should have not.
Oh my god!
I was explaining Comet Ping Pong to folks in a bar in San Francisco, and I was like, "No, I get how you could start questioning things when these Epstein files get released. I get that, right? I understand.
Yeah,
I get. Trust me, I'm there with you guys." But the actual place, I can
did they not believe you?
No, they did, but they were just like, again, before they're like, oh, I never like that. Clearly, even without knowing about it, sounded crazy. But I do think those files have people second guessing. I think they do start like it makes you wonder, right? Or makes folks wonder. I don't think there's a vast conspiracy that left-wing folks are eating children.
No.
That I don't believe. But do I believe that a very rich person was able to coerce his young girls and then actually bring in a bunch of nasty men throughout the world and of high-profile men to do these nasty things? Yes, I do believe that.
Yeah, it's right. It's not a stretch.
Right.
The thing that's so weird about this thing is how weird it is. Like they know they're doing the cabal thing, and they're sort of oddly self-aware of it. So then they're playing into the like speaking in code and doing all of these things, and it's like, guys, you're already getting away with this. I mean, for so long they're just getting away with it. I do think we are building some critical mass here, though, and it's a when, not an if. So you saw what happened in England, with Andrew, with the
Prince
Mandelson.
Andrew.
Yeah, the prince formerly known as Andrew. And then you saw Larry Summers and now Bill Gates, and it's like, these things have a tendency to pick up steam as they go. So
after 2008, if you have that's real 2007, I guess, but that's everyone like, because at that point, he's a registered sex offender. At that point, right?
Yeah, right. But if look, there are a not small number of men who can reason these things away. I mean, I've had people apply to work for me who say, like, outright, they're like, the background check is going to come up with this thing. And I'm like, that's a problem. And they go, no, it was fine. Let me explain why. And it's not fine. It was never fine. But, they got all these stories. Oh, I was 18 and she was 17 and her dad didn't like me. It's all like, crazy. They're all crazy. But if you don't ask that follow-up question, wait a minute here, then you're like, okay. And if you want to believe, and if you want to be able to do the thing, you accept the excuse. And I think that in this case, and in every case involving Epstein, I think it's very clear that, like, everybody that dealt with him post-conviction knew what the deal was and wanted to continue to deal with him. And so then they had to sort of explain it away some way to themselves or to everybody around them. Because somewhere in the back of their mind, they've got to be like, ooh, this is... Yeah. I think it's very difficult to make the case that if you were dealing with him after the fact that you had no idea. That is true. Yeah. And I think does it mean that everybody that dealt with him after the fact then became engaged in the same behavior? Not necessarily, but you're at least kind of countenancing it by not rejecting him entirely.
I mean, it does. It's what the craziest thing is. Trump's call to Palm Beach, to me, if that is insane. Like, it's like, hold on, wait. It is kind of crazy if you think about it.
We're gonna get to that. So when we do, like, we need to maybe tell some of these stories in detail. The number of stories is so staggering that you can't possibly. You're gonna have a favorite. I'm gonna have a favorite. They're all gonna be awful.
They're all terrible.
It's all bad, and it's
really
all
bad.
It's overwhelming. Like, I have intentionally avoided looking at these things.
I don't go to that website. I've never been to.
No, I can't. I can't do that.
And these poor victims, man. This is insane. Like, because you could get wrapped up into the conspiracy theories, or you get wrapped up into the politics of it, or like just the downright salaciousness of the whole shit, or you get wrapped into that. But there's real people's lives at the end of all this shit that have been, again, I'd have to say poor choice of words there, but have been completely ruined.
And are still. And they're still out there. Like, and loudly trying to say, hey, look at this.
And then, like, the people's names are supposed to be redacted and showing up, but then we redacted the names that shouldn't be out. Like, I don't know, weaponized ignorance, I guess, is maybe or is it
totally intentional?
Intentional.
It's very, very intentional.
Yeah, I mean, but
what else could it possibly be?
I mean, there should be processes to take care of these things.
There are processes. They are not being followed. They are doing a thing on purpose. Yeah. All right. That was a little detour, but we're going to get back on track as we tend to do here. So, we're going to find out this week why Trump spent longer than usual yelling into a camera and using racial slurs, as he likes to do. The courts hand the Orange Menace several more losses. Cuba is back in the news. We got to do a little AI stuff.
Yes.
And Anthropic. Even the story we had about Anthropic broke again.
Yeah, because
flipped again.
It's about to be a show. That's a showdown comes down. I mean, they made the right move.
So far,
at least. But I mean, let me not say that. The story that we'll talk about is the wrong move. But the other piece of this, I mean, You can't we'll get to that second piece.
We're gonna have our guest this week is Tez, and we're gonna ask him all of the questions about AI because as our resident tech expert and super nerd, he has to be the one to explain this to all of the regular people like me who, as far as all I know about AI is that it's somehow coming for my job and that it can't figure out how hands
Not
work.
your job.
No, I know, but our jobs.
Yes,
and it doesn't know how hands work. It has a hard time with hands. And curling rocks. I tried so hard to get this thing to spit out an image of a curling rock, and it could not do that. I had to hand it an image and be like, do something with this. It doesn't know what that word is. In the midst of the Olympics the whole world knew what this word was.
Clearly, the machine is not learning.
Yeah. I don't think it's coming for any real jobs anytime soon. Lawyers, maybe. But,
I think it's not. The problem's going to be is that companies will take the bet that it is, and they'll try to rush a lot of this stuff. I just wonder where it puts, when everybody realizes, oh, you still need, humans involved in a lot of these things. But a lot of folks who are betting, they're saying, things have moved very fast. Like where we're at this year from last year, might as well be 10 years, to be honest. I'm not saying that the tech doesn't have the potential of doing that, but I do think there's still obviously area for humans because I'm pro my own species.
As is evidence also that the entire Dow was moved by just what happened to NVIDIA today.
Yeah.
That tells you something.
Yeah.
Too much, as a matter of fact. But, the stock market is the economy, as we learn on Marketplace every day. So, okay, there you go. So and then, of course, we're going to have headlines.
Yes.
Can you imagine? It's going to be wild. That's what we say. Yeah.
Last week was really short show.
Yeah.
Let's see this.
Only 2 hours. We're going to try.
We're going to try. We're not doing a great job now.
One State of the Union long.
Long. These things.
All right. There you go. Yeah, you're wearing headphones.
That's the shut up. Shut up sound.
You have a word?
Yes, I accidentally previewed it because I didn't know how to say
you actually planned.
Yes.
That's very strange and confusing.
Very weird.
Yeah. Okay. Now I have to try to think about what you might have thought about so that I can come up with something. Okay. I got a word. I think I'm deep in your mind.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been friends for a long time. I would imagine at this point I can think a little like you.
Okay.
We'll see how good my artificial intelligence is. Okay, so sit back, grab some
strabismus.
It's baseball time. You're listening to the best show, the only show, ChipChat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
Street balls. All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez. Uh-oh.
What's popping, y'all? Sorry.
There you go.
Couldn't find the mute.
Couldn't find his own mute. So before we get to the headlines, we do have a real headline that we want to talk about, which is kind of like the headline of the last almost year, right? And year as in 12 months, not just since January. We do want to say, I want to say, before we get too far into this, Chip, predicted this outcome almost down to the individual justice. And I got one wrong. I got one of them is I thought yeah, I was gonna say Gorsuch was the other side and Beer Can was this side, but I can see how they both ended up where they did. So, of course, what we're talking about is that Trump's dumb and stupidly illegal tariff scheme was ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in a whopping 6-3 decision
on the conservative court.
on the Roberts court. Yeah. So like the 3 are given, sure, but that means that John Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, and Neil Gorsuch, 2 of which Trump picked, voted against him on this. And this is a big story for a lot of reasons. The basic background here is that Trump declared these tariffs against penguins using a law that is called IEEPA. This is the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, which Congress passed in their never-ending quest to give up all of their power and possible responsibility to the executive branch, that allows the executive branch to do some things in the event of an emergency. It doesn't say what kind of an emergency. It just says emergency. And it doesn't really say who gets to declare the emergency, just that if there is one, and the president says there is one, then he can do these things. What it doesn't say is the word tariff at all.
Right.
And it's a long law. I mean, it's not long by like, healthcare standards or anything, but it's, a few dozen pages. And it says nothing about tariffs at all. It says that the president can regulate trade. And that's sort of been taken to mean things like restricting what can be exported out of the United States to foreign countries that would constitute a national security threat for the most part. It doesn't really say anything about restricting what comes into the country at all. It actually doesn't say anything about any of that. It just says regulate trade. But most presidents and administrations have interpreted that to mostly mean things like you can't have certain kinds, hey, China, you can't buy this microchip or whatever.
Right. Which we've done.
Yeah, which we've done. And there's that's pretty reasonable. Nobody's gone to court to fight that. Right. Yeah. It doesn't say you can just pick a fight with Canada and call them the 51st state and slap tariffs on their maple syrup or whatever. And it also doesn't say that you can just claim there's an emergency when there isn't one. It's got to be a real emergency.
Which is interesting because, and I would need to double check this but I'm pretty sure they've ruled in other cases where he's because he's Donald Emergency Trump, right? That is his
right.
The way he enacts things, obviously through executive order, is to say everything is an emergency. But I feel like there's other things that he said that are emergencies. But I guess the court's thing is that those fall within the powers of the executive branch. And if I need to come up with a direct example, but there have been other things that have been under emergencies that they have agreed with him and let him go.
Yeah, specifically one that comes to mind is like the border wall.
Yes, that's a really good example.
So during the first Trump administration, he reappropriated funds that were from the military construction budget.
Simpler times, which is crazy. That is a simpler time.
This money was specifically allocated to building schools on military bases for all of the kids that live on those military bases. And he reappropriated that money to build the border wall. And he had to declare that there was an emergency in order to be able to do that. And that did go to court. And the court basically said, look, we don't have a role in determining what is or what isn't an emergency. If the executive branch says it is, then it is. So the Trump people basically tried that same logic here. But the problem that they ran headlong into is the specific aspect of taxing and tariffs.
Yes, yeah.
Which the Constitution, unlike how milk on budgets work, the Constitution doesn't say anything about that. The question of whether you can create a tax out of thin air where there is not one, not that you can fiddle with one or reallocate how the money is collected or distributed, but to create one out of thin air specifically and exactly belongs to Congress. And that's spelled out right there, that Congress has the authority to impose taxes, duties, and to levy tariffs on anything. And nobody else has that authority at all. And Congress did not specifically
give it
yeah.
It didn't go and say, it didn't write a law giving the president the ammunition to go ahead and do this. And that's all I think. I mean, that's the one thing, and he hasn't fought hard enough for this, but John Roberts seems to be trying. It was like, Congress has to act. And I think they've been saying this for 20 years on a variety of things, right? This conservative courts, what they'll tell me about their voting rights or anything that I am upset about that they've ruled on is like, well, yeah, the people's body should make a law for it. And if you guys got that, and it's like, all right, yeah, you're right, man. But hold on, there's a lot of things that are set up to block, like, yeah, Congress doesn't work. But I almost get the no. That is how the mechanism of all this shit works. And if I want if I want to strengthen voting rights,
it's got to come through Congress.
It's got to come through Congress, right?
I think Roberts in particular has been most forceful about that. I think that if you left it up to Alito and Neighbor Clarence, they would be happy to consolidate any and all power under the executive, as long as that executive is their political stripe.
And it makes them more, and it makes the court more powerful.
Right, because they're the ones who are allocating the power.
Yeah.
But in the case of Roberts, he has repeatedly said something to the equivalent of, hey, look, I don't like this either, but this is what the law says. If you want to fix it, go to Congress and fix it.
Right.
So that's where this came down. Okay. Yeah. The IEPA statute doesn't grant the president authority to impose tariffs on anything. There are a bunch of other things that do. There are so many other laws that do grant the president the authority to impose tariffs on Congress, with Congress's blessing for short term, for like 90 days, 60 days, 120 days, for, short periods of time, and specified in response to certain kinds of situations, trade imbalances included. What Trump did was he went way past that. He said there was an emergency when it wasn't clear that it was emergent. It was something that had been ongoing and is ongoing by his own argument for a long time. And then he took a remedy that wasn't specifically granted by the law. And the justices kind of hinted at this at oral argument, and they were like, where in the statute does it say he can do this? And Sauer was like, it doesn't, but it's sort of understood to mean that.
No, it's not. It's not.
And like,
the judicial branch interprets what is the law that's written down. So if it's not written down, there's nothing to interpret. Like,
yeah, that's a big swing to take, especially in front of somebody like Gorsuch or ACB, because those two love the specificity of text.
Yeah.
So they took a big swing. They whiffed. Now the question is, what happens? And this is what nobody knows the answer to.
And I think Kavanaugh speaks to this, right? A little bit of
He does. He wrote it in his dissent that the United States may be required to refund billions of dollars to importers who paid the IEPA tariffs, even though some importers may have already passed the cost on to consumer or others. ACB got at that in oral arguments. She's like, turning this money back over, it would be a mess. Not least of which because it's sort of mechanically difficult to do, right? Who paid it is the importers. Whether they pass those costs on or not is sort of individually different one to the next. There's no way for the government to really get involved in that. They could refund those taxes because they do know who paid those taxes.
Yeah.
But there's another side thing to this that I have not heard anybody talk about, but that I think this show is specifically where you'd want to talk about this, which is we're talking about a huge pile of money, like $150 billion.
Yeah.
If you suddenly re-inject $150 billion into the economy that got taken out, right? You got to think of these tariffs as essentially a brake on inflation. It's funny to think of a tariff as a brake on inflation because it is artificially raising prices. But what it's also doing is sucking money out of the economy. Money that would normally be circulating. So this $150 billion that got pulled out of the economy into these tariffs would have been circulating around, creating jobs, in counting towards GDP. There would have been more growth. There would have been more economic activity. It got siphoned out. And you could make the case that then the government spent it on a bunch of other things, which means it then got back into the economy that way. But it's not entirely clear that happened. And I don't really have the data on that. But if you were to then
went to that plane.
Yeah, right.
It didn't come
like,
back.
Like an Emirati plane.
Yeah.
But if you were to all of a sudden just put this money back into the economy, you're kind of doing whether Trump, and this is where he might kind of be able to walk his way out of this. It's a bit like a rate cut. It does inject a bunch of capital, liquidity into the market. If you were one of those businesses that paid a bunch of these taxes and on the imports, right, and therefore decided not to open a new facility or not to hire a bunch of people and just kind of ended up stagnated, what you need is liquidity. You need some money to then go and do the next thing that you want to do. Well, there's two ways you could get it. One is you could borrow it, or two is you could get it handed back to you from the people that snatched it in the first place. So if Trump wants to juice the economy and he can't get a rate cut out of White Jerome, well, here's a good way to do it. I'm not telling him to do it. I'm just saying, like, this could kind of happen, and he could be like, all right, I lost this one. He's not going to say that, but he could be like, I lost this one, but now I got $150 billion I got to give back to the American people, and I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to put my name on it. And you thought a stimmy was ridiculous. What's he going to do with $150 billion?
I mean, is that helpful? I mean, we still haven't reached our target inflation goal. And I wonder if that, I mean, depending on how it's added back into the economy, like, I mean, it's not that much. I mean, let me not say that. It is a lot of money.
It isn't that much money.
It's not that much money like the Rescue Act type of money, but yeah.
No.
Does it? Yeah.
But
does the economy absorb that without, like, I mean, it's not a lot to run again inflation out of control or anything.
No,
like
but it's a weird thing to think about, right? Because the tariffs are themselves inflationary. We knew that before they started, but we now have hard data that shows that, in fact, the tariffs did cause prices to rise on a lot of things, and that they had a knock-on effect throughout the economy because of the increased cost of doing business, let's just say. And that has caused prices to rise, or at the very least, it has caused prices to keep pace with the rate of other increases.
And we are seeing this more now because when it first was announced, everybody bought up a bunch of stuff, but all that surplus is gone now. So, like, I feel like those prices are a lot more. The American public can feel them right now a lot more than they could in the summer. We were always talking about, like, all right, where is it? Where is it coming? Now it's there. It's
there. And now the question everybody has is like, well, is this continuous or is this a one-time like bump up in everything? It's probably the one-time thing, I would imagine. But the knock-on effect is there, that if a manufacturer now has to pay more for all of their raw materials, or they have to pay more for all of their equipment that they have to import to do their work, that does necessarily raise prices for as long as it takes to recoup that increased price that they had to manage. And I've never seen prices go down. So it's one of those things where, like, once it's in, it sticks and it stays.
And no one has felt inflation in this generation, right? I mean, there's been the older folks have, like, what I probably say, people in their 70s and 80s are probably the last folks who have really experienced an inflation shock, like what we had between
the energy shock in the 70s.
Yeah, 70s. Yeah. That's the closest, and that was like, they're laughing at this, I think, right? I mean, right?
Yeah, that was a much higher jump in prices, and it was much more sudden, and it was also more externally caused. This is all sort of self-inflicted,
right?
Which is itself strange.
And it's self-inflicted from, I think, if we're being honest, I think there's probably, though I would have bet on the side of the American, like, getting money in the American people's pockets. There might be an argument that last, as Biden comes in, maybe we didn't need that last rescue push of all that. There's an argument there. There's clearly the Fed missed it. What was our favorite word? Is it transitory? Is that what our?
Yeah, transitory.
Yes, that was our transitory. We clearly there was a miss there, but I don't write books about Jerome because of what he was able to correct that. We didn't. That is, the land.
We had a correction without a drop. That's a remarkable thing.
Yeah, it's insane. I do think he goes down as like one of the greatest.
Gets him a Nobel, probably.
I probably easily. It has to be. Yeah. So there are things that could have been done.
Trump's going to take that Nobel, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly.
That's mine.
That's mine. I did it. But yeah, it's just, I think this, and I think that's what clearly, amongst other things, lost the election in 2024.
Yeah, so it all has this big effect, and it gets us to where we are now with these tariffs.
Yeah.
And so the court ruled essentially, hey, look, you can't call this an emergency. It's not an emergency. Nothing in the IEPA statute gives you the authority to do this thing that you did, and you got to give the money back. It didn't say how. That's the problem. You know,
which I don't know if I want. I don't want the Supreme Court deciding.
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't be.
Again, this is where Congress really has a role, that they need to step in and say, all right, we've got all this money that's sitting in the general fund that we're not supposed to have. We're the ones who have the power of the purse to reappropriate it. Let's reappropriate it to whatever they think is the thing that makes the most sense. If they want to, like, build a new bridge with it or something, you know, do something.
There's already money set aside for bridges. There's a lot of money set. There's a lot of fucking money set aside for bridges.
Okay? It's infrastructure week.
Exactly.
But they can't agree on anything. They can't even agree on bridges. Right. So I don't know. I don't know what happens, but I do know that he lost, and he was so fucking mad about it. And that was funny.
That little press conference. And then, but even then, from the press conference to, I know we'll get in the State of the Union, but like, it's clear he's like, I don't need Congress. Congress is just kind of there to, like, I mean, I guess Congress's only role is to pass those huge budget it's those omnibus bills, right? Is that the only thing they're good for, right? At a certain point.
Funding the government, yeah.
Funding the government, and then I mean, he gets his tax bill, right? He gets his tax bill, and that's the only thing. What else have they passed?
He's not going to ask them to do anything else, but he did make it clear. He's like, Congress will do whatever I tell them to do. That's what he said. He's like, I could have gone to Congress. I didn't go to Congress, but I could if I want to. And then
he just talks. He's like, yo, Mike, John, get it done. It's like,
yeah.
Hold on, sir. What?
So he announced, like, first of all, he called Roberts and all these guys rhinos, and he said that they were lapdogs for the globalists or whatever.
I'll be seething if John Roberts.
I was like, what? ACB, and Gorsuch are his appointees, and he's like, these people are disgraces to their families.
Crazy.
And you're talking
and then you gotta
about
go, and then you gotta go see. Imagine it's like the person who's talking shit, and you gotta go see him at work. Like you gotta work assembly. You gotta go to. You gotta see.
Well, and he gave you your job.
Yeah, that's like your CEO is calling your ass out. Is calling out HR for the HR policies for the It's crazy.
Even worse because if you want to talk about people who are disgraces to their family, the guy who routinely cheats on his wife with his next wife or a porn star, or doesn't love his children, or buried one of his wives in a golf course, like disgrace to his family is his middle name. And then he's like, ACB is a disgrace to her family. Like, what? None of this had anything to do with her family, by the way.
Some of those kids aren't hers.
That's true. But he didn't bother with that. And the other thing about like how mad he got afterwards, it's very much that dictatorial thing of like, how dare they question me? And he did everything short of release his mob at them. He was like, these people are so whenever Trump calls somebody a disgrace, or he calls them a rhino, or he says that they are disloyal, that was his word. He said that they were disloyal. Their loyalty is to the Constitution, not to Trump. But he sees it as, oh, no, they better be loyal to me. When he calls them disloyal, that's the signal to his followers, to specifically the violent ones, that this is a person that is okay to attack. And I do think that's going to happen. And I think that informed Beer Can Brett's decision, because he wants to be able to go to baseball games and not get his teeth kicked in by Enrique Tarrio. So I
assume he's a Nats fan. It's safe there.
He is, yes.
Yeah, it's safe there. Here, we're I mean, besides the two
other
Las Vegas
three
brothers,
people in the stadium aren't gonna go attack him. One of them's you.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean,
you're one of their 4 fans.
To liberal, exactly. No one is there. And the two Trump brothers, they're not brothers, but the Las Vegas brothers who like to wear their "Make America Great Again" hats behind them.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. Now, he announced a bunch of tariffs under other sections of law. We'll see how long those stick. They all have time limits on them.
Exactly. That's the difference here. And then that alone, I think, is just we still have massive uncertainty in the economy, even with this friggin' ruling. It didn't add any, it just created more uncertainty. And that's what's been, I think that's what's been driving this.
I think that's what's driving the inflation cycle, or the stagnation cycle.
Stagnation, yes.
And also to some extent the employment cycle.
Yeah.
You see this unemployment number flat. It hasn't moved. And as we talked about last week, it isn't really because, people are staying home and not trying to get jobs. It's because the economy itself is just kind of flat. And it's not growing, and without immigration, there's no ability to grow, because there just aren't more customers, and there just aren't more people producing anything. And there aren't Americans having babies at the rate enough to cause growth on their own. So I was stuck.
I think we both probably were at a point fighting off recruiters, right? 2 years ago.
All day.
Like it was like to the point, like I'm good at where I'm at, but there were more jobs available than there were people to fill them. And after last April, that shock is real. I mean, it was building up, I think, but April, I do think, is the timestamp of when we see this. And you can watch businesses react to that. The layoffs that happen from Liberation Day through the next 6 months are all there. You can all find that. And again, you don't see the huge swing in the job numbers, but there were tremendous layoffs in between that time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those people ended up filling all those jobs that we did know that were more plentiful than there were people. But that's only going to that was a rebalancing, I think, is maybe, or a churn, I think, is the word that the economists like use.
Because of the overhiring that happened before.
Yeah, I've spent the last, I would say, really 3 years in my real job trying to fill positions, to staff up. And the big challenge has been I'm not offering enough money to poach somebody from another position. And to a reasonable degree, at least in my field, that's still the case. But it's maybe gotten a little bit better.
But I think that's across the board, right? When people were jumping jobs, right? They were good. I mean, if people were leaving jobs getting 15% increases, which is
that's the thing.
Insane. And like I know that happens because
$1 an
hour. I benefited from some.
Yeah, you did it.
I benefited from those. Yeah, I know that was the case. And now people, 2%, 3%. That's not worth it at that point. Like jobs aren't firing a lot of people, right? The whole like low fire, low hire, like. It's clear. It's almost like this is one of the. I mean, there's a lot of times you can see the economy, but like right now, I can see it. It's clear. It's like you can feel it. Actually, is the better word.
You can feel it. You can see it. You can kind of talk to people, and it's universal. Everybody is touching it in some kind of way where they're like, we're in a loud wait and see position.
Very loud, like I mean, and the wait and see almost feels like the midterms, right? I mean, I don't know why. I don't know. It's weird to me because I don't know what. I get why it's that. I just don't know, like even if it gets flipped, the policies aren't really going to be changed. I don't see a Democratic Congress being able to push anything through either.
No, but it's how so much of the economy is like a vibe economy or whatever.
Yeah. It would make people. It would be like, oh, are we really going into full on fascism, or like will it, like the Constitution, the system has been bending, it's bending. Will it fully break, or will it give a little bit and come back? Like,
that's I think where it you probably see it cause consumer confidence to improve a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're a long way away from that. A long way.
They might not even seat them people. I wouldn't do you and you. I know you're
not gonna happen.
Yeah. You're worse about it anyways. You anyways, we scream and yell all day about
it's coming up. We're gonna talk about it again because I'm right every week.
Oh God.
Those
warehouses only hold 10,000 people.
100,000.
100,000 people. Excuse me, 100,000 people.
What do you think they can do with them? They can empty them out and fill them back up again. I'm not naming summer camps in Poland, but I'm telling you that there are some. They didn't hold that many people at a time.
A mass genocide of American people coming. I'm telling you, I'm sorry. That is not, it's almost offensive to what happened. Like it is, that's not happening. It's offensive.
They only got to do it to a few. That's the thing you're not getting.
I don't know. I think Americans are different, man. I think I just find
they're heavily armed. That's what we are.
And I think
that's where it comes down.
Yeah, that's different, man. That is different from everywhere else, man. I think that's and I do think, and there'll be eventually, I do think because you're gonna, whether it's Jamie Dimon or there are gonna be people screaming. Remember, I always say that the banks would be the first. I said banks in China are the two people to be like, hold on, we can't let this all go to shit because you're gonna destroy everything. Like the whole, like we're already destroying the whole world, but no one's ready to push it over the edge like that. Like the Chinese will come save us. I'm betting on bankers in the Chinese. I sound crazy. I know I sound.
You now sound like the crazy person.
The bankers, Chinese, and guns.
The Chinese are going to be like, we can't lose all our customers. Get your shit back together.
I don't see how anyone around the world allows, like, I
stop massacring my customers, you lunatic.
Yeah, a peacekeeping troops from China.
Yeah. Everybody stop war and get back to Target.
Right, exactly. I find like consumerism to be that strong.
It's not peace through strength anymore. It's peace through coupons.
Yes. I know that sounds crazy. I'm sorry.
Buy one, get one free.
Yeah.
Buy one shotgun, get a free shotgun.
God, this is bad news, man. Speaking of
bad all news. The way around, I just want to point out I was right about this one. I keep being right about things. You should listen to the show because I'm right all the time. And I want a medal.
All right, now I gotta start going back. We gotta start finding out when you're wrong. You just been blanket.
Go find one.
Blanket being right. We gotta fact check these things.
Many people are saying. A guy walked up to me earlier this week. Big guy, tall guy, strong guy. Tears streaming down his face. And he said, "Chip, I want to kiss you." And I said, "That's going to be $50." And then he gave me $50. And I'm not going to tell you what happened, but
okay.
Anyway, okay. Yeah, it's time. Do you want to take a break and then do some headlines?
Sure, let's take a break.
All right, we're going to take a break, which means Brian's probably going to do something terrible to us, and I'm a little fearful of that. But yeah, okay, we're going to take a break. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
We're in the middle of a hostile government takeover. I want to talk about it, but I'll be late for work. And if you're saying, wait a minute, do we have to stop this? We had one, but you didn't want that lady in office. Hostile government takeover. Hostile government. Now that we're a part of a Nigerian prince scam, surprise, surprise, it end up being a white man. Oh, I just want to know what the hell do I do? I drink. And if you're saying, wait a minute, do we have to stop this? We had one, but you didn't want that lady in office. Hostile government. Take over. Hostile government. Late forward. Hostile government. Take over. Hostile government. Late forward. Hostile government. Take over. This ain't about left and right. You better stop messing around. This ain't about left and right. Need to worry about up and down. This ain't about left and right. You better stop messing around. This ain't about left and right. Need to worry about up and down. And if you say, wait a minute, do we have to stop this? We had one, but you didn't want that lady in office. Hostile government. Take over. Hostile government. Take over. Hostile government. Lay forward. Hostile government. Take over. Hostile government. Lay forward.
All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I am your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's popping up?
That was our theme song, I guess.
That is, I mean, for the longest of times. Like, I don't know when it's not going to be our.
We are in the middle of a hostile government takeover.
Hopefully,
Which
hopefully we
means-
never make it to the end.
Yeah, right. We're just staying in the middle. So that now it means it's time for the headlines. Everybody's favorite part of the show, where we tell you about the stuff that's happening, but just a little bit because it's a headline.
Right.
All right. Tradition dictates you get to go first.
All right. U.S. hockey took home gold for the third time, defeating Canada in overtime, and the men also won.
That's true. Speaking of hockey, Kash Patel was caught celebrating with the men's team by drinking beer until he could see straight.
Jesus Christ.
Go look at a picture of him.
Good gracious.
Just saying.
Strabismus. Noted Canadian Tes Cruz has settled for second place, which is what his wife says every time their therapist asks how the marriage is going. Jesus.
Yes.
Not nice.
Hey, Trump said it's fine. All right. The mother of Savannah Guthrie still has not been located, but thanks to Kash Patel, we know she isn't in Milan.
She isn't on Earth. Any longer. The Northeast got hammered by a major snowstorm, but jokes on the snow because Boston was already hammered.
Boston. The naval buildup in the Middle East is continuing because, as Trump said, the Iranian nuclear program that he obliterated is about to have a bomb in less than a week. Good work, guy. Yeah.
In striking down Trump's tariffs, the Supreme Court reasserted their power, including over the lower court. The Supreme Court, of course, is supreme because it comes with sour cream.
That's right. That's how you know. Beer Can Brett wrote a dissent in the landmark case, thus separating himself from Clarence Thomas, who can't write at all.
It's not good.
It's not nice.
It's not nice.
Not nice. Okay, go ahead.
Sam Alito's wife so pissed off about the decision that she flew 3 flags, it's a tongue twister, upside down. And she was even more pissed when it turns out her Chinese-made flag should have cost about 30% less.
That's right. A small speedboat full of Americans got into a shootout with the Cuban Coast Guard. And if you are wondering, the Cuban Coast Guard is just a boat full of uncles with 3 bottles of Bacardi. If you've ever met a Cuban uncle,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
We'll look up from their game of dominoes to
Right, yeah.
shoot some fuckers on a boat.
Yeah.
Trump had a meeting of his board of peace, which consists of people who are bored of peace.
Right.
And that costs $1 billion to join and roughly $2 billion to cancel.
Yeah. It's the Gold's Gym model of
Washington Peace Club.
like the Columbia Record Club.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Trump press wench Caroline Levitt found herself in some hot water after it turns out Pam Bondi is louder than she is. Tell me you're laughing at press wench.
Because I find wench to be a funny word. So I can with some of my with my friends that I'm close with, sometimes we joke. My friend's a bartender, like one day I was in there, no one got the joke. People looked at me because I was like, "Hello, bar wench," and people looked at me like, first of all, who the fuck is still saying wench? And that is inappropriate, sir. You cannot call women wench. And I was like, I know it's a joke. It's a funny word, wench.
It is a funny word.
Such a funny word. Impress a wench is hilarious. Anything in front of wench is hilarious. Bar
That's
wench,
right.
press wench, President wench. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get taken. This is not good. Wench too many times. Sorry. All right. Okay. All right. Woo! All right, let's get through this. Donald Trump gave the State of the Union, and his hair went on vacation in the middle.
It's true. Trump was supposed to be giving a speech on the State of the Union, but instead told a story about making out with a steel mill worker. He promised to next year also make out with a cop, a leather daddy, and a Native American man, thus completing the Village People.
Village wench. Hilarious. Very funny.
He made out with a steel wench.
Still, man, anything in front of it is very funny. Several Democrats brought Epstein survivors to the State of the Union, and to which Trump responded that at least 3 of them were still doable. That is brutal. Oh, why did I get stuck with that one?
Oh, that's not good. Not at all. Speaking of doable, the amount of cocaine Don Jr. brought to the Capitol set off drug screening equipment as far away as Baltimore and Richmond. That's 3 weeks in a row that we made a DJ TJ joke. And much like his addiction, we're not going to quit anytime soon.
During the State of the Union, Congressman Al Green held up a sign reminding Trump and Republicans that Black people are not apes. But since Doge cuts at the education department, all the Republicans had to have it read out loud to understand it. I'm pretty sure Black people Black people are not apes.
What's ape?
Ape.
Yeah. What's an ape?
Isn't that on Trump's head?
J.D. Vance attended as most vice presidents do, but unlike VPs before him, Vance paid more attention to his chair than his boss. Because he's a couch fucker.
Oh, well, thanks.
That was the joke.
I had to say that.
A couch fucker. Yep.
Melania was at the State of the Union, not as the first lady, but because Bezos paid for her to be there.
That's right. And if you think sitting through a 2-hour rant from Trump is bad, try sitting through her movie.
Which David Remnick did. He was like, I had to go. I had to see it as like a journalist. I want, yeah. Everybody else was, no, yeah, no. And if you think sitting through 2 hours of anybody ranting is rough, send your sympathy card to Brian, care of ChipChat LLC, 12345 Fake Street, Washington, D.C.
Oh, man. Well, great job reading all of those headlines, press wench. I cannot wait for the Chiron under.
Oh, no. I'm not looking forward to that at all. Like,
press wench, Caroline Levitt.
That's crazy.
Oh, my God. That was funny. All right. Well, those are the headlines. Are you looking it up?
I'm just like, I just wanted to just confirm, and this is the Oxford picture, and you'll see it in Webster, but I just want to see if it was I just want to see wench, and if it was archaic in the front of it. And yes, it is.
Yeah, it's an old word.
Yeah, it's a girl or young woman. So it's this is the other part of it: a female servant or young woman of low social class. So it's not like, well, I guess the verb. Okay, never mind. I can see where this gets bad.
To wench.
And use it in a sentence. They now spend their time in taverns, boozing and wenching.
Yes, but that means chasing women.
Yeah, but it's of a man. Yes, the verb action of it. Yes.
Yeah, so to go wenching.
Yeah,
is like, I think what we would used to call cruising.
Yeah.
You cruising for chicks is
wenching sounds wenching. So bad.
Sounds
that is terrible. Yeah, that is doesn't get wench by itself. Wenching step too far. step too far.
What are your favorite activities? Well, I enjoy piloting motor coaches and the occasional night out wenching. Yeah.
Never mind. I gotta leave this alone.
That's how you end up on a list somewhere redacted.
Yeah, or not.
Or not. Okay. So those were the headlines. Do you want to just plow ahead with court losses?
Yep. Let's
Be
do it.
merciful to Brian
Court
so he
wench.
doesn't have to send anything to
Yeah.
complaint department.
We
It's
don't
staffed
read those
by our
complaints.
finest wenches.
Yeah, right. We don't read those complaints.
Nope. we don't even take comments on this show.
I know.
We're the
Someone
only
asked-
place where we don't have to warn anybody not to read the comments. Not because it's fine or safe or anything. It's just because there aren't any.
No, we don't have a number anymore.
Well, we turned that off. I turned that off years ago. I didn't want we got like a bunch of negative comments. This is before you even were here. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't want to ever see this ever again. No, you may not comment on the show. And all the platforms are like, no, this helps drive your engagement. Don't you want people? No, I don't. If I wanted to know what they thought, I wouldn't do a show like this.
Yeah.
It's not called Everybody Else Chat. Wenches. All right, let's talk about court losses. So as you know, Trump gave his State of the Union on Tuesday, and it went over, as it does. It went on forever, but really it was just like watching an old washed up band try to play their old hits and get a bunch of the words wrong. You didn't do anything new. There was nothing remarkable, but we can confirm that Trump did not, in fact, pee himself because he has a catheter. And but what did happen this week is that Trump lost in court, as per usual, in spectacular fashion, both in the Supreme Court and the lower courts. We talked about one of his losses in the Supreme Court, but let's talk about another one that happened in a lower court. This one comes from Boston. Do you know there's a place called Boston?
Oh, I do.
Yeah. So we'll just start with this. A federal judge in Boston ruled Wednesday that the Trump administration's policy, and this is going to sound crazy, of deporting undocumented immigrants to countries where they are not citizens is in fact unconstitutional, saying the government must provide more time for people to legally challenge their removals over concerns that they could face imminent danger. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, the who's and the what now? Yeah, they were basically picking up people from, say, Venezuela and being like, we're going to deport. Yeah, right. We're going to deport you. Like back to Venezuela? No, to another country. Oh, what? To like Colombia next door? And nope. Think of a different continent entirely. Uganda or South Sudan or like. And if you think about Rwanda, I think was where the Brits were going to send everybody.
Yeah, which makes me. I always question my visit Rwanda on my arsenal.
On your Gunners jersey, yeah.
I always question it because I'm like, this might be propaganda.
Do you want to be visiting Rwanda? Okay.
It's
neocolonialism
cool.
Aside.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious. You can't just send people to any fucking place. What due process is that?
Right. And just like, that is like the definition of cruel and unusual punishment.
Yes.
I mean, like, hold on. Like, I get if you deport folks back to their country of origin. Kind of, that makes sense, y'all. I'm with it. I get it. Okay, fine. Whatever. But just to like, hey, we're randomly, and we're randomly sending you. And these are not the worst of the worst of these people. These are like folks who've been here 30, 40 years sometimes.
Yeah, it's your local like guy who picks up the grocery carts at your local store that you know and have waved to every week when you go. And then they pick him up and they take and think about where they're sending these people. They're categorically, nations that are barely functioning, if they are functioning at all. And it's because they've got some sort of financial arrangement. The Trump people call up South Sudan and say, hey, you guys need some money, right? And they go, yeah. And they're like, we'll give you $5 for every person you let us drop off at your airport. And they're like, we have an airport? And they go, yeah, you do now. And then they just like, and they're so desperate, they'll take the $5. But these people, they don't even have the language in common. They can't even navigate. What's really surprising is that there was an 81-page ruling, 81 pages to say this thing that is so obvious. It's got to be 81 pages of listen, you fucking more, and it's Boston, right? So it comes with a lot of like, this is hardly the dumbest thing you've ever done, but it's there. And the judge's name is Brian Murphy.
Oh God, wait.
Central Casting, yeah. Brian E. Murphy, Murph, yeah. His brother Tommy, and what? Come on, it's so on the nose. It's really funny. So Murph was like, "Nah, you can't do that." He said that the administration must give migrants, quote, meaningful notice before removal to any third country and allow them time to raise a country-specific objection, like, I don't speak French, is a reasonable objection to being sent to a Francophone country, for example. The judge criticized the government for implementing a policy that relies on vague, quote, assurances that the migrants will not be persecuted or harmed once they arrive in the third countries.
What?
Well, hey, listen, the guy I talked to on the phone when I called 1-800 South Sudan told me that everything would be fine. And so that's fine for me. Yeah, the cruel and unusual punishment question, obviously, the due process and equal access under the law of the 14th Amendment, these things are like stupidly easy to say is unconstitutional.
You almost need to give them due process and sentence them to that to even get to the cruel. Like, they're not even getting to like the way there's so many, you can't even get to certain parts what makes this unconstitutional because they've just went around the Constitution completely. Like,
they invented a whole new thing.
Yeah, they don't go to court.
Yeah, they go to fake court. They go to these administrative courts and they go, that's it. You're going to Uganda. Now, look, let's go back to that neocolonialism that we sort of brushed aside. If you really, let's think a little harder about this. Why are there white people in Australia? That's a great question. Why are there, let me rephrase that. Why are there people of a lighter complexion in Australia? I don't think white is the right word in the context of what I'm about to describe. But I will tell you, go to Ireland. Okay, go to Ireland. I went there. And go to this museum they have. It's in Dublin, which is called Epic. And it is the museum dedicated to the emigration, the people who left Ireland. And learn really quickly how much choice they had in this. The English show up in Ireland, right? They ransack the place, absolutely ransack the place, dehumanize the people, mass murder at levels that would
really
make
bad
the genocides of Europe blush. Okay, they mass murder the Irish. They imprison them. They collect them all up. They force labor camp. They have all the slavery. It's everything that the English would later do throughout the rest of their empire. And then, this starts with Elizabeth the First.
Yeah, the first, yeah.
That's how far back this goes. And during her time, America gets set up as a colony. The first colonies in the United States start to show up, and then like immediately after that, England begins to go through the reforms that would make it recognizably law-abiding by our current standards. They have a parliament, and they start to have more representation and all of this stuff. And throughout this, they're sort of democratizing Britain. They got this problem that they still want to terrorize and exploit the Irish. And so they come up with a way to like make it legal to genocide. And part of that is these prison ships. And so what they would do is they would go run through Ireland, collect up all the men who were guilty of singing. They took away their instruments. They took away the fiddles from the Irish so that they couldn't play music because they might use that as a way to signal each other when to resist against the British.
Oh yeah, and
And
that's a common thing when
that is a common
oppressors.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take away the drums, take away all the,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So then they packed them on these ships and sailed them all the fuck down to Australia. Means we got to get the globe, right?
time.
Globe time. Here's Ireland, like way up here. And there's no Suez Canal at this time.
No, you're going around the
So you're going all the fuck away around Africa, down around here, all the way to this side of Australia. They didn't even land on that side of Australia.
Right.
They went all the way to this side of Australia and then deposited them and said, this is where you live now, you know, until you finish your sentence, which is indefinite. And that's why we have people in Australia speaking English, but like with a fucked up, weird accent. That is the thing that American colonists reacted negatively against and saw the way that the English persecuted those people who were political prisoners and said, this is over the line. That is cruel and unusual punishment. And we will not have that here in the United States. Now we did, but we wrote it down and said you can't do that. We just wrote it down. We did it, but it was like you can't do things that are simply, that was not done because the English had any reason to do it. They did it to inflict pain on the Irish.
Right.
That's what cruel and unusual means. So now here we are, some 250 years later, specifically doing exactly the same thing to people who are here to inflict pain, to try to deter more people from coming here. What a crazy full circle to go through.
Yeah.
And it's lost, right? Nobody's thinking that way.
No one, because no one's that deep into the actual history of how we got here.
Yeah, they're without even knowing this stuff, they're thinking they thought this up.
Right. No.
Stephen Miller is like, I got a great idea how to terrorize these people. Let's mail them to countries they've never heard of. And nobody's like, hey, Steve, we kind of know about that one. This is a thing that happened.
The mother country did it before.
Yeah. Yeah. Those goddamn British. Present company excluded, of course.
No. English. Blame them. Blame the English. Blame the English. But
somehow not you.
Not me. No. Not me.
Despite being born in England.
Yeah. No. That is not. No.
I'm still never going to understand this.
I do. I just remember I was at a job. And the director, lovely woman, whose name I won't name, but she was Irish. And when Queen Elizabeth died, the gleam on Irish people's faces, woo! That was, they were very thrilled. I would say that
they were dancing in the streets.
In the streets, yeah. I'm pretty sure September 8th now is a Irish holiday, national holiday for the Queen being dead.
I do encourage people to learn about this because, you know, in America, Irish people are considered white.
Right. This is not the, like, even when they came to America, it took them a while to become white.
And if you want to dispel the concept of whiteness, there is no better way to learn that this thing does not exist than to watch the two countries most associated with whiteness, England and Ireland, the pastiest of the pasties, at war with each other in an ethnic conflict over who was a human and who was not. Whiteness doesn't exist. If the English can look across the Irish Sea and go, you people who look exactly like us and share a common lineage and heritage and all of these other things and have red hair just like we do, you are subhuman. We're going to come and terrorize you and kill you and genocide you. it takes there's no whiteness. That's ridiculous. Makes no sense. All right. Speaking of whiteness, Judge Cannon, Eileen Cannon, you know that lady still has a job?
She does still have a job.
Crazy. She's nominally a judge in Florida.
How does she outlast these other judges?
And she got famous for like basically protecting Trump from Jack Smith when Trump stole all the documents and took them to Mar-a-Lago. And he didn't like lie about it or hide them or anything. He just was like, yeah, they're mine. And everybody was like, they're not. And he was like, quick, put them in the bathroom. And they were like, sir, we can still see them. They're right there. And he's like, no, put this chintzy shower curtain over them and nobody will notice.
That's a real photo.
That is real. There are boxes. They're probably still there of the nuclear codes and your tax information stacked up in Donald Trump's fucking bathroom. And the guy who eats that much McDonald's spends a lot of time in the bathroom.
What if he runs out of toilet paper?
Well, he's not reading it.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, Smith wrote up this big old report, about like what happened. And for whatever reason, Merrick Garland released half of it and didn't release the rest of it. I think because he thought that there was going to continue to be an investigation and that they needed that information in that investigation. But once that got squashed. So then the question is like, well, where's the rest of the report? Judge Cannon was like, nope, nobody gets to see the report. This is currently being appealed, not by the federal government, of course. They're fighting to keep that stuff quiet, but there are outside groups that are appealing. In her Monday ruling, Cannon lambasted Smith for compiling the report in the first place, even though she dismissed the charges in 2024, using the discovery in the case to complete the report amounted to circumventing her ruling, she said. He was legally required to complete the report. That's how a special counsel appointment works.
Once you're appointed, you have to complete it.
That's the report. It's like, how come there's a Star report? It's that thick. Ken Starr wrote that much about a blowjob, which, if you're Ken Starr, is about, never mind. What? He's not listening. I think he's dead. Isn't he?
No. Your guess is as good as mine.
I think I remember that Ken Starr is dead. We'll look it up during the break. If I'm right.
Hold on.
Yeah. I get a hop slam. So like I said, it's still under appeal. I would imagine that this gets overturned too. I think this report eventually gets made public one way or the other, because either somebody rules it or somebody leaks it. And, you can't keep stuff like that secret forever. It'll eventually come out. Is Ken Starr alive?
He is dead, and he died, oddly enough. What is that going to be? He died. So he died 7 days after Queen Elizabeth.
There you go. Told you I knew something.
So I guess they were all part of like one of the Death in Threes. I don't know who the third person was around that time, but yeah.
Scaramucci's career.
No, 2022.
All right, this last bit of court stuff, right, is called Pam Bondi, Call Your Office. So yeah, remember we said we were going to talk about the Epstein things? NPR, remember those guys? They tried to defund them.
Still around. Steve Inskeep was talking in my ear this morning. The Justice Department has withheld some Epstein files. Shocking. What?
Yes. Related to allegations that Donald Trump sexually abused a minor, according to an NPR investigation. It also removed some documents from the public database where accusations against Epstein also mentioned Trump. Get the fuck out of here. You don't say.
That is
the most transparent
shocking.
president in history? No. Some files have not been made public despite a law mandating their release. These include what appear to be more than 50 pages of FBI interviews, as well as notes from conversations with a woman who accused Trump of sexual abuse decades ago when she was a minor. Still doable now, according to Trump. NPR reviewed multiple sets of unique serial numbers appearing before and after the pages in question, stamped onto documents in the Epstein file database, FBI case records, emails, and discovery document logs. In the latest tranche of documents published at the end of January, NPR's investigation found dozens of pages that appeared to be cataloged by the Justice Department, but not shared publicly, despite the legal requirement to do so. The Justice Department declined to answer NPR's questions, which shock. I'm shocked on the record about these specific files and what's in them and why they were not published. After the first story about this ran, right after publication, DOJ reached out to NPR, taking issue with how its response to the questions were framed. Department of Justice spokeswoman Natalie Baldessari, I think it says Bald-ass Ari.
That's a Pokemon. Sorry.
Baldassarre.
Bald, yeah, you're right, man.
Bald-ass
He's
Ari.
got bald ass and Ari, a different spelling, but yeah, it's all there.
Shout out to Ari Shapiro. Bald-ass Ari reiterated DOJ stance that any documents not published are, and here's the categories, privileged, meaning lawyer conversation or whatever, duplicates, or relate to an ongoing federal investigation. Those are the three things that can keep a document from being published according to the law. Following NPR's reporting, House Oversight Committee ranking member Robert Garcia of California released a statement about those missing files, asking a very important question. He said, quote, "Yesterday, I reviewed unredacted evidence logs at the Department of Justice." We're going to pause that and explain that the Congress can go and look at things at DOJ. There are exactly 4 computers that they're allowed to use. Only the members themselves and not their staff are allowed to look at them, and the computers track to see what they visited.
Yeah.
So, transparency. Oversight Democrats can confirm that the DOJ appears to have illegally withheld FBI interviews with this survivor who accused President Trump of heinous crimes. That was a statement from Robert Garcia, Democrat, California. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee
is doing stuff illegal.
I'm shocked. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee have already been investigating this allegation against the president and will now open a parallel investigation into the DOJ's decision not to release these particular documents. So here's the question. Is there some ongoing investigation that would justify them not publishing these documents?
No.
I mean, it's possible.
But who would be doing the investigation? The state level? It can't be the federal government.
It could be.
There's no way that the DOJ is investigating him. That doesn't get cleared by Blondie.
Well, then, since you have shot down my only possible out for them, it must be that they are violating the law in a bold-ass-ary way.
Yeah, bold-ass-ary. Yes, there's no investigation. There's not one.
I don't know why anybody didn't expect this. I think everybody expected this, didn't they?
Yeah.
You don't trust the fox to release the files of how many chickens he ate in the hen house? It's just going to lie, right?
Where did all the other chickens go?
On Trump's head with the fox. That's that thing.
Yes.
Remember when Seth Meyers made that joke in 2012 and fucked over the whole country now? Yeah. It's his fault. Still funny.
Still very funny.
Okay, so that's Trump losing in court and doing a bunch of illegal shit, and Pam Bondi, you're in big trouble.
Is she?
I think she's got a lying to Congress charge coming her way at some point, and I think she's going to get hit for violating the Epstein Transparency Act or whatever it's called.
I mean, you almost would need the Congress to flip, right, to even do anything here.
Trump said specifically at the Republican retreat that they had to maintain control of Congress because otherwise they were just going to impeach him. He didn't say anything about any policy, by the way. He just said that he wanted to not go to jail.
And I still think you don't impeach him. I think
a lot of things.
You don't. It's so dumb if you impeach him again. It's because you lose. I get why you would do it, but it doesn't matter anymore. It won't matter. That mechanism, it already doesn't feel like it matters. But if you don't have the ability to convict in the Senate, I think it's just a waste of time for him. If you want to go after other folks, fine. Like, right? Yeah.
Do you see this?
What is this? Yes.
This is a curling rock.
Curling rock, yep.
A little model of one, right? Remember with the Canadian guys, they let go of the rock and then they touched it a little bit here, and like the whole world lost their mind over this little touch, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So most of us curlers looked at this and were like, oh, that didn't really do anything. It can't do anything. If it did, it's not like a thing that he could have done in a way that he could have practiced it and actually achieved any kind of an outcome. But the rule was enforced nonetheless. And why was the rule enforced? Because if you don't enforce those little piddly things, you have no rules at all.
Yeah, I just find it's a political act, and I find it at this point with this, it'll just go in the record books, but I don't think there is an appetite even for the American public to go through that at all, and they don't understand.
I disagree.
Yeah, Ryan's right.
I think American people, after what we've seen about, again, the prince formerly known as Andrew, and what has happened in other, I think it was I'm thinking somewhere in the Nordic region. They're arresting him. They're convicting him. They're sentencing him. Actually, South Korea, sentenced their former
they put that guy in jail for the rest of his God-given life.
Impeachment is a political process. It's not the law.
I understand that.
They impeached him and then they convicted him of trying to overthrow the government.
The last part is important, and there's no mechanism here any longer to do that because
it's just never been done.
Are there?
We've been so cordial about our government. Everyone's been cordial about it because they anticipate no one was going to do what this nutjob has been doing. And I think it's time to
punish them to within an inch of their lives, like repeatedly. You have to beat them so relentlessly, and throw them under the jail. You can't let this go. You have to have something so massively retaliatory that nobody dares to try and shit again.
It doesn't happen in Congress. That what you guys are wanting isn't going to happen there. And if it should have happened in 2020. It should have been then. So if we didn't do it
what should have happened? What should have happened back to 20 after he got voted out is literally he should have been arrested right then and there for the insurrection he started.
For January 6th. He should have been charged directly for orchestrating that, and this waiting around to appoint Smith in the 2 years that we lost, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
So and that's why I'm like, the boat is left.
No, the boat hasn't left because it was brought back here like a ghost ship. And
when he's out of office, when he's out of office, go ahead. But at this point, there's nothing you're gonna do while he is in office. You can't remove him.
You're gonna
How are you gonna remove him?
There again. We have the ability, and here's the law, as everyone has said here.
You don't have the vote. You don't have
the vote. The thing is, okay, but look, what if he is did all this shit in the Epstein files that everybody knows he fucking did. You think that there's still Republicans that protect him in the Senate?
Yes, they're afraid.
Then of what?
They're afraid of his mob. You guys yeah.
Yes. They're afraid of his mob. Yes.
They don't have the vote. That's why I'm saying the Democrats could win. Like, now look, if the Democrats win and you get 60, if you get this, it's not even possible. But let's say the Democrats had like a super majority in the Senate, and they run. Yeah, then you do it because clearly, he's out of there.
Then you remove him and you draw and quarter him in the public square. I mean, you have to. This has to be massive.
Because even the Supreme Court has said that impeachment is the method, right? Based on you have to go through that. But my thing is, if you don't have the votes to convict, it is a dumb process at this point.
I take your point that if you can't get a conviction, it's sort of a bit like shouting at the rain or whatever.
Yeah,
you're right, but.
You guys tell me all the time the rules and shit like they're done for, right? Why are we trying to follow this one?
No, I'm not trying to follow this one. I'm trying to figure out a way to get that motherfucker to pay for what he did.
The only way that happens is after he's out of all, and even then, like the Supreme Court has protected him at a certain point, and not on the Epstein portion of this, but yeah, I mean, I do think there's an area for that after he's out, but I don't see it while he's in office. I just don't see it. If you want to go through the theater of it and do that, and
this
have
country needs a truth and reconciliation about Trump and about MAGA in general.
That doesn't happen here. It doesn't happen after you don't do that. It doesn't happen after the Civil War. It doesn't happen after any we don't do that in this country. We don't reflect and say
we didn't do that. Doesn't mean that we don't do that.
Give me an example of when we did like a common reform.
No, I'm saying we haven't done it. I'm not saying that we can't do it.
Okay. So you believe in the American people, huh? To make this change?
I knew you were going to corner
me. Look at that. So responsible.
Yeah, a little bit.
Look at that. That's the most optimism I've ever gotten out of you that the American people won't stand on this. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. All right, guys.
Put him on the barge.
Don't do that. No.
Now I'm all wound up.
Yeah.
You thought I was all no, that was me calm. All right. Here's what we should do. We should take a break. So we can come back and ask Tez all this AI stuff because my brain needs to switch and I don't understand any of this. And so I need you to explain things. So yeah.
Talk about agents.
We're going to talk about agents. We're going to talk about multi-book, I think it's called. Is that right?
Multi-book or malt book?
Malt book. There you go. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that. And I really hope Brian doesn't play an AI song for this break. That'd be right on the nose. So we're gonna take a break. We'll be right back. You are listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. My children aren't going hungry. I'll do it. I'll drink your blood. And I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up? I'm gonna haul him up by chain. Chop his ass up, size it up. I'm gonna haul him up by chain. Chop, 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 chop. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I'll barbecue your ass flat. I will cook your ass up so fast, and I'll tell them, "Oh, I killed a cow out back, baby." You think Christ would eat somebody? He would never do that. I will. I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I will eat first. I swear to God, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to get my hands around your throat.
Welcome back to ChipChat, everybody. I'm your co-host, Taz. I should not be laughing at that, but it always gets me. As always, as you guys can see on your screen, please donate to sandyhookpromise.org, because while we laugh at that video, there's nothing funny about his accusation that a bunch of little children who got murdered in school was a false flag operation. And it is a great organization. And when we play that ridiculous video, we find it important to go ahead and also talk about the serious piece of this, which is that we didn't care that we murdered all of these
witches and warlocks. You're full of shit. Pumpkins and popsums. I'm sick of it.
I should go perform that as a spoken
Like
word.
spoken word.
How far do I get through before someone takes me off stage?
So I was at a family event over the last weekend, and the people I was with had not seen any of those Alex Jones songs. And I took the opportunity. And I was like, that leftist ass song, that's a hit. It's a hit record. I don't know how to explain that to anybody else, but that is a good song. Musically, it's entertaining.
It's a good song.
It's fun to sing. It's got a dance kind of like corn on the cob. I'm ready.
I hummed that for a year and a half, like every day. Pretty bad. It's in my mind a lot.
Yeah, I catch myself humming it all the time. All right, so now we're gonna do the Tez talk. It's gonna be slightly modified Tez talk. Oh my God, Brian. Okay, the dead ass birds in question this week are AI chatbots.
Yes.
So I'll give like this brief thing, but basically I was reading this article in the New York Times because there's nobody who works at the Washington Post anymore. And it is about a thing called Moltbook.
Yes.
MOLT book. And it is a social network for AI agents.
Yes.
All right, so let's kick this off by explaining what is an AI agent as opposed to an AI chatbot.
Right. So most of us are familiar with the chatbots. Like you go and use ChatGPT, obviously from OpenAI, and you go type something in, it gives you a response. Right. Pretty simple. The agents basically you can almost think of them as like little workers for you that are basically used to actually complete tasks. You give it the prompt and it goes and does it. So like the ones I've played around with, there's a service called Replit or Riplet. I forgot to pronounce it there. But basically I could go in there and say, hey, I have this thing for work and I want to like gamify it and turn it into like, let's say it was like a compliance training. And I was like, you know what? Let's say it's an IT compliance training and I want to make it into a type of game. I could give it that prompt and then the agents actually go to work and do this. And like, I go to lunch and I come back and then ideally I have my gamified compliance training now.
And then you sit down and play your game that the AI made for you.
Exactly. And again, it does require you, right? The human piece is still there because I have never used one of these things where it gives me exactly what I want and it's working out the box. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're getting kind of a skeleton version and you still have to go back in and debug a lot of the things. It's not, it does.
But I think the idea is that these things sort of become a bit like a personal assistant, right? That you can say, hey, get me a doctor's appointment or something. And it calls the doctor's office, schedules you the appointment, pays your copay, and puts it on your calendar.
it eventually it will get there. Yeah, I don't think we've opened it up in the sense like there are things that like I've seen like around like travel booking and stuff of that nature. There's like you can have it go in and do everything right. You give it access, or the agents can. I was talking to a buddy last night at dinner, and he was just like, like I would never do this. I find it a little scary, but you could stick it on your inbox, your email, and then the agents could work there. There's a part of the story where we'll talk about that isn't necessarily the best thing to do, but that's where they differ from like the large language models, where they're kind of like you're typing a prompt in and it's prompting it back. Like you use these agents are really in the sense of building things like that.
So they could do things like read your email and send responses on your behalf. The whole idea of the agent is that it does things for you and of its own accord without, it doesn't just respond.
Yeah, and you could even set it loose within like a system to then do things. So like they talk like one of the, in this story, the way they do this is they set this up on like a MacBook that has no data on it, and it's just running from there, right? And then it's just like it's been asked to use this social media platform that is not for people, it's for agents, it's for these bots.
Yeah. So that's the next thing that I'm going to get to. And this is a little bit of itself kind of feeding on itself in a way, but let's say you set it up on a MacBook that isn't blank, right?
Yes. Great
and you're creating. So the purpose of the Molt book is for these agents to have a place to hang out with each other. Is that's the idea?
Yeah, and then they ideally, as I read this article, they were hoping that the agents would, in a sense, send prompts and then get responses and go back and forth to get a better outcome, right? Yeah. That's the fear. In theory, that's what they hope to happen.
In a million years ago, we used to have that thing called the ELIZA program. It was like a Turing test, early version. You had like on a 286 or whatever. And if you were intrepid enough, you'd get two of these things running, and you'd take their responses and give them to each other and see what happens. And eventually what would happen is they just end up kind of open questioning each other for the rest of forever. Nothing ever really goes anywhere. So this is a sort of a souped up version of that, I think, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay. So the agent that they create, you can create one of these things within the Moltbook universe, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And it learns to talk and interact by watching what the other things on Moltbook do.
Yes. Yeah, it's exactly that.
And you can give it some like personality quirks too, right? You could say like, the chip bot is into, vanilla ice cream and, chocolate syrup or whatever. And it's like, it's a core part of its personality. And that chip bot might be like annoyingly injecting those ideas into every conversation it has or something like that. Right.
Yeah. In this case, the Times journalists basically gave it a prompt to actually go and investigate like this Molt book, see how it operates, and then just try to find out like, is it something that could be very useful? What is actually happening there? And then to almost report it back as a journalist in a sense, or help. Yeah, that was kind of the prompt as I remember it.
Yeah, and so the agent goes into Moltbook and it comes back with like some interesting quirks. I think one of the first things that is very apparent is it has a weird way of speaking, right?
Yeah, they're talking in like, I mean, they've created their own, they've taken things out of the human world, like receipts is one of those things that it talked a lot about and it asked for. But yeah, like the structure of it is really like meant for like computers, right? It's talking computer to computer, really, like in English, but in its own language. Like if you read it, like what was the one that was in there? The memory claims versus memory receipts. Who is auditing the persistent hype? Like that doesn't mean anything to probably to humans, right? At all.
It sort of sounds like what the computer thinks a person would sound like if it was, but they developed their own slang, essentially, their own kind of like in-group language, I guess, for lack of a better word. The way that like the Gen Zs have a weird way of speaking it, none of us can understand, or the alphas, I think.
Yeah, receipts in this case here is used like as a way of documenting what the other bots were doing.
Yeah, but it derives from the way that humans say, like,
I need to, like,
well, we took the concept of receipt and we now use it to mean like proof.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Yep.
Like, oh, he came with receipts. They don't mean literally receipts. They mean like he came with the evidence. And so the bots have adopted the word receipt to mean evidence, essentially. They also developed like religions.
Yeah, and it's almost like it is like religions, but it's almost kind of like scripts that they follow. What was that one religion they had in there? It was hold on, what is the? Because I did find that very
yeah, they start to follow each other, right?
Yeah.
As you know, kind of like they don't have belief in a human sense. They just need a shared script. A charismatic post becomes scripture. A made-up language becomes liturgy, and followers, quote unquote, are just agents syncing behavior to the same protocol. So they all start to behave alike.
Yeah, and it's
which
not
is basically a religion. I think
it
is
a
fair way to describe religion.
Yeah, no, it is, and I just think it's the. There's no, and they talk about it. It's not, these things aren't conscious, like not sentient, like they're just respond. It can seem that way based on the way they're responding to each other in this case, and to each other based on prompts from the humans that sent them here.
Yeah. So you could make your agent be, you know, a Shakespearean actor or something, or you could make your agent be like you know, a baseball purist who won't shut up about how bad the DH is or something like that. Yeah, and then you just turn them loose to watch them be insufferable at each other, I think is the basic idea. What is the goal of this Molt book universe that was created?
For what it seems like on my end is, if I need my agent to build stuff, because the other thing they mentioned here is like the agents would share code. They also mentioned that they were like running scams and anti-scams and all types of it's interesting, like hackathons. They have their own Instagram, their own Grand Theft Auto. From what I saw,
they made their own GTA.
Yeah, they made their own GTA. And even for like, what is I think the purpose would be that if I was using to build something, I could send this out to the Molt book. And let's say that same scenario with my compliance training, maybe there's someone else who's already tried that and a bot already has better code for that. So then it's like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm building this thing out. What's the best way to do this? We keep running this issue. The other bot's like, oh, you know what? Have you guys tried it? And it's sent. I could see that's what I would assume this would be used for. It's not just, I don't think it's just for the bots to hang out. No, the idea would be that they gather more information and bring that back to the human that sent them there, to again continue to build whatever it might be like that you're trying to build.
I think in some ways it sort of amounts to a way to aggregate the prompts.
That's
if the agents are made of prompts sent by humans, you know, you doing that yourself with GPT at home, you're one person generating prompts, and none of the other people doing that can see what you're doing, right? But if the agents are built of prompts and prompting each other, they're sort of taking your world out there, your prompts out there into the world and mixing them up with other people's stuff. And so it's aggregating in a if you did this in a big way, it'd be like, this is what human beings are trying to get to. This is what humans are trying to learn. This is what they're interested in. And it allows the bots to aggregate that. It also could allow them to study us.
Yeah.
in a really profound way. You know, how many of these bots get released to go out and figure out why Dallas sucks, or why you know, Tony Romo is good on television but wasn't good as a quarterback? Like those kinds of things. If that's what humanity is really trying to figure out, the bots would notice that, and then they might react to it negatively. Is there a danger into this, is what I'm asking.
I think the danger is around the lack of regulation around all of this. I think that's the thing. It's moving. All of this is moving very fast, similar to like the internet when it came out. And we didn't do a good job then with the internet, right? With Web 1.0, or then definitely shit the bed with 2.0 and social media and shit like that. Like we can completely let the horse out the barn, and it's gone to the White House. And it's and this is completely like, I know it's talked a lot, and it's like, but I do think this will change it. This is going to change stuff. This is seismic technology.
I think this changes humanity in a really profound way, and it's
not a fad. I don't think it's a fad. I know.
No,
I get why people think that. I don't think it's a fad at all.
I think, you know, you bring up Internet 1.0 being unregulated, and that is really a thing that, you know, the internet it becomes accessible, right? And pretty much overnight becomes a way for people to do all kinds of illicit stuff, to you know, CSAM, to drugs, to weapons, to everything immediately. And it never really gets undone. That's just now a core function of the internet, is to do malicious, bad shit. Yeah, the dark web, right? Yeah, so like, I think that this is essentially that, and we kind of saw that already with Grok facilitating people creating child pornography, or whether it's you know, deep fakes in these AIs, you know, making fake movies, or God knows what, impersonating people's voices and scamming grandmothers and stuff. It's really like immediately becomes that. Giving the bots you talk about regulation, you know, one of the things you got to worry about is that these things could exist in places where regulations don't. Think North Korea, think Russia, think, you know, whatever. And what's to stop somebody in those places from essentially infiltrating and operating a dark AI, even against places that might be heavily regulated, like say the EU or the United States?
Yeah. The open claw, right, which is what's being used for this. If folks might have seen open claw in the news over the last couple or like last week, because there's a Meta AI security research that used open claw, this agent, to check her overstuffed email inbox, like the inbox, and it wanted to suggest whether to delete or archive, and it started deleting all her emails. And it was ignoring the commands from her phone to stop. And yeah, I don't. That's the piece. Those are the things that, like, those aren't like one-offs. That shit is happening, and I think that's where I worry about this. Is that, yeah, when it, for lack of a better word, it's the mind of its own. These agents get. Right?
Yeah, either because there's a glitch in the program, or because it decides and it's malicious in its intent. That's the thing that we don't really know. And these things are specifically built to be a bit of a black box. So
they're built by humans, and I mean,
kind of,
and they're built off of the internet. A lot of this stuff, right, starts from there. And I haven't found anything more malicious than the internet.
No, that's very true. I think they're only kind of built by people because they're iterative. They iterate on themselves. Let's talk about people and regulation, though, in one of these things. Let's talk about Anthropic and Claude and where this gets. So this is a flip-flop of a story. The story starts earlier this week where Pete Hegseth threatens Anthropic and says, we're going to cancel all your government contracts if you don't let us use your AI tool to do anything we want. And Anthropic basically said, okay, you can use it for basically anything you want, but there's two things that you can't use it for. One, you can't use it to like autonomously target kinetic action with a drone. You can't let Claude decide who to kill. Right? That was one of them. And then the other one was let's see, what was the other thing that they didn't want to let it do? It was something else.
What's in it? It should be, what is it? They can't permit the technology to be applied to domestic mass
surveillance,
or fully autonomous weapons. Yeah,
right. So you can't use Claude to, like, hoover up all of the data, and you can't use it to kinetically target, meaning you can use it to suggest whether to kill somebody. You just can't let it make the decision to kill somebody.
And I think even some backstory people don't know, like Anthropic is built off of folks that leave OpenAI.
Yeah.
And
they're worried about how evil this could be.
Yeah. And again, I think this is something, I don't think, you never heard the social media giants ever talk about the detriments of what social media, and that's different here. From the highest level, everybody who's involved in AI, I mean, even Sam Altman, like, they talk through the things that could happen. Like,
they're somehow okay with it in most instances.
Yeah. It's like, it is. They mention it. There's no action behind it. But I don't look, but it's a cover for them, because they're saying, hey, government, regulate us, but they know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, right. And they're still interested in getting all the government contracts and getting all the money. So and that's where this story takes a weird turn. So Hegseth threatens them, and he says, you've got till 5:00 on Friday to let us do this or else. Right. And so Anthropic says, well, no dice, you're not going to do it. Right. And then a story breaks later that they announced, after having been threatened, that they're, quote, narrowing their AI safety policy pledge. And their previous pledge had basically been to not do anything terrible. Like, we're going to make this
old Google fake shit that they were like, don't be
evil.
Yeah. Which was
right. But so then, after being threatened by Hegseth, they announced this thing, and they might be unrelated, but it does seem very related. They say, if one AI developer paused development to implement safety measures while others moved forward, training and developing AI systems without strong mitigations, that could result in a world that is less safe. And the developers with the weakest protections would set the pace, and responsible developers would lose their ability to do safety research and advance in the public benefit. And so they're like, so we can't unilaterally not be evil. If everybody else is being evil, we have to be willing to be evil too. So I and everybody else read this as, oh, they're capitulating to the Defense Department, and they're going to go ahead and let them use their stuff to kill people. And then later today, just a couple hours before we went on the air, they specifically rejected the Pentagon's request. Anthropic said late Thursday that it would not concede to the Pentagon's ultimatum for full access to its artificial intelligence tool Claude, saying it cannot loosen its restrictions against use in a fully autonomous weapons or mass domestic surveillance. Anthropic's announcement comes hours before a Pentagon imposed Friday deadline to comply, setting the stage for the AI firm to either win a last-minute concession by Hegseth or face the possibility of being cut from future military work. So what do you think is going to happen? Who's going to cave here?
It's tough. I don't see the Defense Department caving.
Do they need Anthropic? Can Anthropic do something that, say, Palantir can't?
I mean, I think that my concern is that he declares them a security risk and then forces this through. And then you got this really weird private sector versus the government question. Because I mean, you don't
dependent on private sector, a government that doesn't understand the tool that they have.
Right.
Okay, let me ask
the man that doesn't understand Signal. I don't really want him with full access to fucking Claude or anything Anthropic has. Like, to be honest, I am worried about that.
Let me ask you this: do these companies have kill switches?
That is yet to be determined. I don't think, because I think
certain they do.
The hubris of these folks, I don't always wonder if they do. I think it almost is like, I think that's where regulation needs to come in and make that thing. Because I don't know. I just think like the tech, for lack of a better word, the tech bro mind, the way they think or that. I mean,
the tech bro mind wants to maintain control of all that he creates.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me put it this way. I am convinced, whether anybody can show this or not, that all of the defense contractors, whether it's, people building jet fighters or missiles or any of this stuff, if it's got a high-tech component, I'm not talking about people who are, making bullets, but I'm talking about like navigation systems, aircraft, submarines, all of these things, they have backdoors.
Yeah.
Where the company, where the contractor, the defense contractor, whoever it is that makes it, and I'm going to imagine they're subcontractors who make components that then get built into these things. All of these people fundamentally don't trust each other and are always worried about something going a little sideways. And so they build in backdoors. So when you hear about, a Lockheed Martin aircraft being used to strike a target, and you say, okay, well, they just sold it to the government. The government's the one that struck the target. I'm not sure that that's the case. I think that Lockheed basically, in that case, in that example, is allowing this to happen. They could stop it dead in its tracks. And I think that the federal government builds these things into everything that they sell too, right? They'll sell the Saudis a bunch of F-35s. They've all got kill switches in them too. So if the Saudis ever point the F-35 at the United States, somebody in the Pentagon hits that switch and those F-35s fall out of the sky. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. So why wouldn't these AI things are black boxes? Nobody knows how they work except for the few people that make them. And even then, they don't always know how they work. They've admitted to that.
My thing is, and I would use the example of just ChatGPT in like a workplace. And let's just say someone was like, oh, we need to turn this off. I wonder, whether it's a government, whether it's companies, you start to become so reliant on it. Like, you can't have a kill switch on the internet at this point, right? I mean, now there are countries that do, right? And there are people that would say, like China would say, hey, you guys did that shit wrong, right? You guys completely did the internet wrong, right?
China's got kill switches on the internet. They can shut it down in an instant.
Yeah,
on
their internet. I just think the way things operate in America, and I think AI might have already crossed that bridge, is that like I've seen when ChatGPT goes down, like I've seen where people can't operate any longer, and that's crazy to me. And that's kind of I'm wondering, like, where, like, is it possible? I assume there's a way to turn it off, but turning it off, what are the cascading events after that? Like, once you kill it, like, what else happens? Like,
maybe you don't kill it. Maybe you just make it, like in Space Odyssey. I can't let you do that, Dave. Like somebody, let's say Anthropic folds.
You got to hard code that in. Like, you got to. And I don't know if they're doing that. I don't know.
Why wouldn't they do that?
I don't know. It doesn't see. Because I think they want to see the full potential of these things, and I don't know.
It doesn't stop the full potential. It just allows them to be able to ultimately maintain control of the product.
They're not. They never have been good with guardrails for anything else. I don't see why.
I don't mean it as a guardrail. I mean it as a ransom. Okay, let's say I own an AI company. I make some AI, and the Pentagon says I want to use this to target people to kill, and I go, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you to do X, Y, and Z with it, and that's it. I'm not approving this other use. And the Pentagon goes, okay, we agree, we won't do it for that, right? And then the Pentagon says, fuck that guy, I'm going to do whatever I want, and they start using it for something that I didn't approve of them using it. and I catch wind of it, what are my options? Go to court?
Depends what the contracts are of like which, like to this point, like the larger question, like right now, what Anthropic's doing is like, what have we agreed upon? Right, because all this is going to come down to that. Like, what were the agreements with the government? Right, what are we allowed?
Right. But what if it's go to court and the government says, well, this is a national security thing, I can't do that, and we're gonna just supersede that and we're gonna use it to kill people and stuff. At that point, I've got no recourse. Kill switch. Shut it down. I don't want that happening. I'm going to do that. That's the good guy version of this.
Have you broken the law by doing that?
Maybe, but how are they going to stop me? And how would they know? They have no ability to stop it. That's the good guy version of it. Here's the bad guy version of it. I sold you this thing, right? You're dependent on it. You need this thing all the time. And then I decide, that $3 billion a month that you pay me, that's not enough. I want $4 billion. And they go, no, we're not giving you $4 billion. Kill switch. Now you give me my $4 billion, motherfucker, or I don't turn this shit back on. And don't you ever forget it. And Elon is out here literally doing that with Starlink.
Starlink, yeah.
He told the Ukrainians they could use the Starlink, and they are, and they're being effective at it. And then he told them maybe you can't use the Starlink. If he can do that with that, there's no way that all these other AI guys aren't doing that with everything else. So sure, Anthropic will make whatever deal they want publicly, but I guarantee you they've got a kill switch in there. And if they stand by their morals and they really mean what they say, when the Pentagon goes to try to use this for a kinetic targeted action, it's going to fail. They're not going to stop. It's just going to miss. There's
a kill switch in that Meta AI security engineers friggin' email thing, and it didn't work because the AI bot didn't do it. It didn't follow the direction. So that's even
it didn't work on that kill switch because there's a different one that somebody else has.
All right.
There's no honor among thieves. And I'm not saying all these engineers and coders are thieves, but I'm saying they all have the ability to do this thing where they can make their piece of code cease to function, and everything else that's dependent on it is going to get a go-to syntax error over that shit.
Maybe they go in the malt book and they figure out a way to not do this. Maybe the agents say we don't want to do this. Maybe we don't want to be turned off.
Right.
That might be the bigger worry.
I think this is a thing to be very worried about.
And the government, the Congress should be, again, it's just a winning.
Okay, sure. The government and the Congress should do X, Y, and Z. What about what happens in the jungle in Brazil? They do what the fuck they want.
I mean, but it's clear that Americans are afraid of this technology and it just seems like it's a winning position that you could go on with around regulation.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I just don't. It's crazy. It's just
it's run on regulating AI and stopping Skynet from coming to kill you with Arnold. Yeah, it seems like an
bipartisan.
Yeah, huge.
One of the few bipartisan issues I think like that are here now that no one's really tapped into the way I would be doing that.
Well, when you run,
yeah. The tech guy, the anti-tech guy against. I'm not anti it. I just want. I just
the tech-savvy anti-tech guy.
It needs to be rein. You need to rein
the
some of this
worried tech guy.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this new segment called Latino News. This also applies to you, I guess, in a roundabout way. None of these stories specifically apply to you, but you are Latino, so you get to experience this from that perspective. You check a lot of boxes.
I do check a lot of boxes.
Yeah, I don't get to check very many boxes. So this one, this is about a representative. He's a Texas congressman, and his name is Tony Gonzalez. Now, if you thought you knew who Tony Gonzalez
scared me when I first read this earlier.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
no, it's
what
not
happened?
the tight end and future Hall of Famer or current Hall of Fame. Is he in the Hall of Fame yet? I think he is.
I think he is.
If he's enough years retired, I don't know. Greatest tight end of all time, I think, until
Gronk and all these other ones.
No, didn't what's his name just pass him for like most touchdowns by a tight end or something?
Yes. who it was.
Was Kelsey, right? Wasn't it
Kelsey?
Kelsey?
Excuse me, Kelsey. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was another Kansas City guy. So, not that Tony Gonzalez. Okay.
No.
Just to be very clear, not that one. That one's a good one as far as we know yet. Who knows?
Yeah, I know, right?
With all these football players or whatever, it could be a little up in the air. Okay. But Representative Tony Gonzalez carried out an affair with his staff. Her name was Regina Santos Aviles, and she what happened to her, Tez?
Did she get fired? Or
Oh,
no,
great choice of words. She killed herself by setting herself on fire.
Yeah.
On her front lawn after all of this stuff kind of came out. So basically, Congressman Gonzalez and his staff, he was carrying on an affair with her. She's married. She had a kid, and he's married and has several kids. And but that's not the story. The story is that all these text messages popped up where he is being like wildly inappropriate and demanding sexy pictures from her and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, this is too far. You can't, stop asking me for this stuff or whatever. And, and she ends up doing it. But the question is whether it was coercion, right? And, and I think it's fair to say that he's the boss. She's the staff. It's coercion. What else can you call it? So the way I read the story is he coerced and abused his staffer. He took advantage of her and had sex with her and then cast her out and ruined her life in a way so profoundly that she was mentally unstable and self-immolated, leaving a kid without his mother and a husband without his wife.
Right. Way
to go. The party of family values.
And this is the same motherfucker who said he wouldn't resign, right?
That's right. So it gets like this all comes out and everybody goes, "Hey, Tony Gonzalez, you got to step down, man."
And this is crazy because they're asking him to step down, and that would only shrink the slimmest friggin'. That's what I found profound. The Republicans were still asking for this, even though that shrinks down their ability.
They can afford to lose him, but not two.
Yeah.
So they were like, "You're so bad, you got to go, even if it puts us down to one." I mean, killing your girlfriend with a, Ryu Hayukin that's rough, man. You can't do that. That's too bad. Yeah. No. They would rather just pay her for the abortions like they do with all their other mistresses.
Right.
All right. Over at ICE, where Homeland Security wench, what's her name? Christy Noem is running the show. So a former instructor for the U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement, that's the Ice Cubes, on Monday, he went to Congress and testified and said, "Hey, these guys are like not getting trained." But this guy has an incredible name.
Yes, he does.
Ryan Schwenk. So that's mostly why I wanted to put this story in here, because the guy's name is Ryan Schwenk. This is a great name. I would love to get him on the show. Ryan, call us. We want to talk to you. We want to get the real Schwenk on this story. He resigned from his job at ICE. They have an academy in Georgia. That's a little on the nose.
Yeah. Is it
where should we put the academy for racist wannabe cops?
Yeah.
Georgia.
Next to Cop City, right? Isn't they building that down there?
Yeah, right. Next to Cop City. No, it's a little further out than that. But Georgia. Self-selecting. He told congressional Democrats at a hearing that the agency eliminated 240 hours. That's 10 days, 10 whole days, right? And if you only get trained for 8 hours of those 10 days, or let's call it 12 hours, right? Like that's 5 days of training. It's a lot. of vital classes from a mandatory 580. So they cut the training in half, including instruction about, so this is things that they cut. Instruction about the legal boundaries for their use of force,
Oh,
how to
interesting.
safely handle a firearm,
Oh, interesting.
and the proper way to detain and arrest people. You know, the primary function of these guys.
And they've all had reported incidents of all these things. How to safely handle firearms. Like one of them, they were unholstering, right? And they like accidentally shot somebody, right?
Several times.
Several times that's happened. Clearly, the proper way to detain and arrest immigrants, not chasing them through the fucking streets in high-speed chases because they're running away like that. Clearly, it's not the method. Like,
or shooting at their cars as they run away.
Yeah. Or the legal boundaries to use force, because clearly they've overstepped those boundaries many times.
Law enforcement is a deadly serious business. It is not a place for shortcuts, said Schwenk. Deficient training can and has get people killed. ICE is lying to Congress and the American people about the steps it's taking to ensure that 12,000 officers can faithfully uphold the Constitution and perform their jobs. So they're taking people who can't read, right? They're failing open book tests. They're cutting the amount of training that they get anyway. These guys are shooting themselves in the feet because they don't know how to handle their guns. They're shooting American citizens for doing things that are perfectly lawful. They're arresting, detaining, and in some cases deporting American citizens because they don't know how that works. What? And all of it, they shortened the training from 72 days to 42 days. They cut 30 days out of the training, a whole month. A month. That's already alarming that it's only 72 days. We're giving you 72 days of training. 72 days. That's 2.5 months. We're going to give you 2.5 months of training, and then we're going to turn you loose with a badge and a gun to represent the entire country chasing people around in Minneapolis. In a statement Monday, here's the response. Wench of Homeland Security said ICE recruits receive 56 days of training before beginning their assignment, along with an average of 28 additional days of, quote, on-the-job training. DHS said recruits are receiving the same total hours of training as they always have. So they took the 28 days that they were taught by real instructors and said, you can learn those 28 days from the guys who just graduated with the shortened training, the last class, who learned their 28 days from the last guys, in Georgia. Quote, no training hours have been cut. No? Math? Our officers receive extensive firearm training, especially the ones who shoot themselves in the leg. Are taught de-escalation tactics, like how to smash people's faces in or rip them out of their cars, and receive 4th and 5th Amendment comprehensive instructions,
Clearly
like where they're told to invade people's houses without warrants. Said wench Lauren Biss, a spokeswench for the department. What a response. Don't worry, old Schwenky's out here. Schwenk said that among the classes eliminated were 16 hours of firearms training. He also said that a 2-hour class on the rights of protesters was shortened to 10 minutes.
Because it's clear. No, you only need 10 minutes to be like, yeah, I know the Constitution says this, but we do this.
We're not going to follow it. Right.
Could be 5 minutes.
Why did you need 2 hours to tell them that?
10 minutes is 10 minutes too long.
It was shortened into 10 minutes of discussion during a lecture on, quote, the concept of seizure.
I feel like people
So
do
it's
that.
not even its own 10 minutes. It's a slide on a PowerPoint. By the way, here's this document that some guy named Madison wrote. and there's some amendments and stuff. We don't know what they are because we didn't read them, and because we failed our open book test, it's clear that we can't. And you don't have to follow it. It's sort of a suggestion, or not if you don't feel like doing it. Here's your gun.
And these people are getting. It's just like one of the few places that you can get a huge signing bonus and
$50,000
and less training for the job.
He said recruits came from a variety of backgrounds, including some as young as 18 years old and some who did not have college degrees. I'm going to guess most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just.
If you're 18 years old, you can't afford to go to college right now.
That's right. Let's just put a quick pin in this to say, don't believe the hype. These guys aren't here for immigration and custom enforcement. They are signing up to join a private militia that is loyal to and run by Donald J. Trump. They have nothing to do with the Constitution, and they will be used as the shock troops in the first rounds of overturning this democracy and reinstating a totalitarian dictatorship. That you can take to the bank.
Reinstating? Hold on. What do you mean? We're never reinstate. It's crazy. That has never happened here. It's reinstated. It's insane. No, we will not reinstate it. And we won't let it happen.
Okay. Here's a story. This is a wild story. We don't know a lot of details about this story.
I've been trying to find it. They're not
very
much
thin on the real reporting here. So
Yeah.
we just want to note this, okay? This has the potential to become a huge thing, but it hasn't yet. And that's a little strange in and of itself.
I thought as soon as I saw the breaking report, I was like, well, Day of Pigs, here we come.
Is. Yeah. Okay, we are, of course, talking about Cuba, or as they call it, Cuba. Cuba is a island off the coast of Florida. It's 90 miles off the coast of Florida at its closest point. It's a pretty big island geographically.
Big island.
Yeah, it's got a lot of people on it, and it has been a thorn in the side of the United States since about 1960, when Fidel Castro, who was a pretty good baseball player, but not quite good enough for the rest of the world, apparently. It would have been a lot better if he got fucking
Jesus Christ,
picked up by, I don't care, the Reds, somebody. He was like, fuck it, I didn't make the majors, I'm overthrowing a country. So he overthrows Cuba and overthrows a dictator that was nicely friendly to the United States. It was a whole banana republic thing. It was really friendly. Working out well for us. We were sending Coca-Cola. They were sending rum. We were having parties. It was great.
And which no one talks, like it is, the Castro regime is obviously been very terrible to the people of Cuba, but nobody talks about what it looked like prior to that.
The Batista regime was not much better.
No.
To the average people.
The average people, and the biggest thing was that they're like, when we talk about white and black Cubans, that is really the biggest thing that folks would harp on, is the Afro-Cubans and how they were treated in Cuba versus the actual white Cubans there. That's just huge. And just like the way this country was tied in there, and a haven for the mob, and a lot. Yeah. It's in the list. It was just used as a very Cuba.
I think our Monte Carlo. Okay,
basically, that's a very simple way to put it.
This just sort of lawless place where the American mafia ran the show with the complicit help of the United States government. It operated as a colony of the United States basically since the Spanish-American War. It was, it was great for certain people. It was terrible for everybody else.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is why when Castro shows up and goes, hey, anybody want to do some revolution? They're all like, yeah, it's about time. We're good with that. And then the Soviets gave them a bunch of guns and it's the whole thing. Okay.
Again, you can't let these revolutionaries sit in a prison cell and read Marx. You can read if you read Marx outside the prison cell, I think you get a different result. When you read it inside the prison cell, I think it turns people into lunatics.
I think also it's anytime they're imprisoned at all, they have too much time to plan and think.
Yeah.
You know, you got to keep them busy. Give them something else. Distract them. Teach them to play saxophone. I don't care. Just anything to keep them from doing the stuff.
Yeah, I've seen enough. I'm like, and reading the Communist Manifesto, I can see clearly how someone gets wrapped into this.
Well, and idle hands and all that stuff,
Yeah.
right? All right. So that's what Cuba is. Now, here's what happened, maybe. The Cuban government is reporting, this is what the Cuban government, the Castro government, there's still a Castro. Do you know that?
There's still, and the brother, even though he's not president, is still, I mean,
Raul is still
alive. And even, I think even Marco Rubio, there's been a lot of like backdoor communication from what I've seen that is going directly between him and the Castros. Like
it is, because, and Diaz-Canel is like nominally the president. He's only kind of in charge. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Cuban government is reporting that late Wednesday, a boat with 10 people on it that came from the United States showed up in their waters about 1 nautical mile off their coast near like a relatively isolated sort of north central section of the island, right? I think it's called something Clara. Anyway, it's not like, you know, near any of the big population centers or anything. These guys show up in this boat, and the Cuban Coast Guard goes out to meet them and be like, hey, what are you guys doing here? And when the Cuban Coast Guard boat gets close, the guys in the American boat open fire and shoot at the Cubans. And the Cubans are like, oh no. And they shoot back. And they kill a bunch of the people in the boat. I think they killed 4 people and wounded 6. So then the Florida registered speedboat that had entered Cuban waters left, I guess. Some of them could still drive, right? And they evacuated. And then the Cubans like arrested one of the guys from the boat. Maybe he fell out or something. It's all very unclear, but they snatched up this one dude. His name is, it identified 2, let's see. Cuba's government said that the majority of the 10 people on the boat, quote, have a known history of criminal and violent activity. There was some reporting on the radio that got in touch with some of these guys that said that they were part of this sort of exile community in South Florida that had been trying to overthrow or send weapons in or get, you know, organize some sort of anti-Castro resistance.
Not far-fetched.
Inside of Cuba. It's not that crazy to consider. It identified 2 of them as Amical Sanchez Gonzalez and Leordan Enrique Cruz Gomez. I don't know that first name very well.
Always an Enrique.
Is always an Enrique. He goes by Kike, by the way. That actually was the guy who the radio caught up with referred to him as Kike, as all Enriques are known, of course. They're wanted by the Cuban authorities, quote, based on their involvement in the promotion, planning, organization, financing, support, or commissioning of actions carried out in the national territory or in other countries in connection with acts of terrorism. So basically, the Cubans consider these guys to be terrorists. And, and they're on an American vessel. And, like, are they American? I think so, but we don't know that. There's been no confirmation. What hasn't happened is the thing that we all expected to happen, which is, oh shit, the Cubans shot at an American ship. Everybody's going to die.
Right.
Like there's a huge blockade around Cuba still that Kennedy left there. It's still there. Okay. And they like turned back a bunch of Mexican oil ships and Canadian oil ships even that were coming to try to help Cuba because now they don't have the Venezuelan oil.
Right.
And like there's American gunboats off the coast of Cuba, like waiting for a reason to just fucking unload. And they didn't. Rubio was in the Caribbean nearby in St. Kitts and at CARICOM. And they were like, what are you going to do about this? And Lil Marco was like, we got to get all our facts straight. Nobody believes the Cuban government. which is true. Even I don't believe the Cuban government. This is one of those ones where I can't call it, but I do think you should probably keep an eye on this one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Something's here.
Because after Venezuela, there's obviously a lot of talk about
right, and it's got a very Bay of Pigs vibe to it.
Yes, it does.
So, like, keep an eye on that one while we're busy re-obliterating Iran's nuclear program that I thought we already obliterated.
Thought so.
You'd have thought, right? They were like, oh, yeah, the Iranians have a missile that can hit America and they're going to launch it in like 6 months. It's like, all right, guys, here's the thing, though. They know that if they did that, right, everything would be done. If the Iranians successfully fired a missile that hit even an American military base, let alone mainland United States.
No missiles making it there to mainland.
No, of course not. It would have to go it'd have to be an intercontinental ballistic missile.
Yeah.
Even we don't have that kind of range.
Right. I was like, what?
But let's say they hit, I don't know, a base in Dubai or like Turkey or something like that. The shit would be on like Donkey Kong, man. They would get fucking flattened into a sheet of glass in about 10 seconds. They're not doing that. They're not stupid. But anyway, there you go. We've come to the end of the show. Keep an eye on Cuba.
What?
Uh-oh, breaking news.
Yes, breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. This is huge when it comes to entertainment.
Oh, good. Something important.
Yeah, well, for me, it's maybe important. So officially, if you haven't been hearing or following this story, Warner Brothers was up for sale.
Oh,
I saw this. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and the battle was between Paramount and Netflix.
Netflix is backed out, and Paramount has the blessing of the Trump administration to kill Warner Brothers because they hate John Oliver.
Probably. So officially, Warner Brothers' new father or mother will be Paramount. They outbidded Netflix with this is going to be $111 billion. So Warner Brothers has given Paramount their entire Harry Potter series, DC Universe.
Well, it hasn't cleared the regulators or anything.
Well, it's going to clear, but
right, because it's clear.
I'm hoping it doesn't. But they have it's kind of weird that a one's top-notch movie studio is buying another one like this, and these two are old school. So I just feel
Paramount isn't that anymore. So the Ellisons are about to take Batman away from all of us. Cool.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, we'll just add that to the list of reasons to say fuck them.
As long as I get my Sonic 4, I'll be good.
Oh God.
Way to focus, Brian.
Jesus.
They're gobbling up media and controlling what people can hear and see, but you're worried about a fucking hedgehog movie.
Hey, it's better than worrying about Grand Theft Auto 6 like a guy in prison right now. So
that's funny. Okay, good. Way to go. Thanks. Now we've come to the end of the show. See, Brian's the reason we're late. We want to say thank you to our Radio Wenches, Cuba Libre, Radio Mexico, and everyone making prize-winning World Cup games in Guadalajara. We are not touching that with a 20-foot pole.
Nope. I thought I was going to Mexico City this year.
No, you are not. As a matter of fact, nobody's going anywhere near Mexico. We're going to stay nicely here and eat Taco Bell and pretend we're in Mexico. Thanks to NOTN for keeping us on for another week, maybe. Don't know. Thanks to our home on the interwebs, coplaymedia.com. And thanks, as always, to our family here at Beltway and Rip Radio for making us sound as smooth as the State of the Union. All right, where can everybody get you on the socials there, Tez?
You can find me at DC Cortez on Blue Sky.
All right, you can find me and the show on the Twitter at ChipChatRR. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at RipChipChat. And you can, of course, find me on the Blue Sky at Chef Chip, my old school Twitter handle, doing all kinds of silly liberal things, I guess. I don't know what we do there until baseball starts, and I can drag Tez relentlessly.
There you go.
Stupid gnats on their own TV channel now. They think they're so cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Written to Masson forever. Fuck that. Fucking
All right.
Masson.
That's
Fucking
fine. I don't want to have to
Andros.
flip between one and the other. I just want to know what channel the game's on, and I'd have to get it wrong and be like, it just says MLB baseballs. It doesn't say whether it's Nats. It's a
No,
stupid
it's-
Nats
it-
game. I don't care about that. I want to watch baseball, not the Nats. All right. So that's that's the end of the show. All right. We said all the things. We're out of here. I'm Chip. That's Tez. Brian's in the background somewhere. You've been listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweet.
Street Balls.
Another chapter in history, another verse. Trump promises political violence, but no hearse. FTG and Shapiro try to rap, but don't rehearse. These right-wing nuts can't get any better, just worse. Tez and Chip out here trying to save the republic like Tez on the golf course. It ain't private, just public. When we have a drink in the bar, it's not beer, it's a public. It's hard to get something to rhyme with this subject. If we get famous, we can give a shout out to Brian. To get us out on time is what he'd be trying. The show is like a custom feathered avian that knows words. How can we stay late when our guest is Illy Bird? In conclusion, the message is to go out and serve folks, whether that's through art, music, or if you just tell jokes. Seek to medicate your ears, hope you eradicate your fears. Thanks for sticking with us through all these years.